Mr. Fox inside him every day. Yeah, he's working as a director, content strategy at Ecop System Private Limited, Ahmedabad. During his 22 years of experience, he has worked with multiple other companies in different roles. For example, JVS Technologies Private Limited, Sterile Technologies Private Limited, and so forth, and Cyberome. Chandrark will be sharing the knowledge about the topic on which he has been working since last 20 years. Yeah, Chandrak, are you there? Over to you. Welcome, Chandrak.
Thank you, Ruchi.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, very much. Yes.
Uh, yeah, I'll just share my screen. Seems there is some glitch in the sharing part. Okay. So before I start the presentation, is my screen visible?
Yes, Chandrak.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fine. So the point over here is that today Puneet talked about a few things. Ruchi talked about a few things. When we started writing around 20 years back, there was a association called STL. I think I don't remember the actual name. And then we in Ahmedabad we were only just a few writers. And to meet other technical writers, we had to go out of Ahmedabad to Bangalore, or Pune was not there at that time, not a IT hub. Hyderabad was still coming in. Bangalore was the only place. And then there were people like Rangnathan, I think there was Markan Pandit, there was Akash Dubey. Those were the people. Uh, Out of them, a few are retiring now. And uh, for the first time when we went to a conference, we were interviewed that, oh, there were people coming from Ahmedabad. So it was more like we felt like we were in a zoo kind of a thing, that Ahmedabad people, technical writing, how does it happen? Everything happens in Bangalore. And now today, Ruchi has organized this thing. So when I was looking at this full thing, I realized that how long have we come? Uh, Now, when Ruchi approached me about would I be open to giving a presentation, then I was so I said okay, but then I didn't have a topic in mind. And then I keep monitoring what is being discussed in the group. And then I realized that there were so many questions that used to come that I also had faced. And there are a number of people in the audience today who have either worked with me or who have mentored me. There are people who have also mentored me over the years. So the point is that we used to grapple with very basic questions, and I still see that happening right now. And then there are two different genres that we keep talking about. One is technical writing, and there is something called content writing. Still, there are advertises that would come for a technical writer would say technical content writer needed or technical content specialist needed. And then people talk to us in the interviews, they tend to mix up the things. Acha, aap white paper likhte ho? And then they talk about whether you do guides, manuals. And so things are quite fluid to a level. And then there is one more thing that Puneet asked that question about that Hyderabad event, that are we the X factor, right? So what I have tried to do over here is I'm not going to talk about anything that is new. I'm not going to give you any thought leaderships. I am going to talk about the simple processes that we follow or that I am acquainted with. And what the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how do we approach technical writing and messaging as a whole. There's one more thing that I would want you guys to contribute. So after every slide, I will take a pause. And after the pause, in the pause that you are free to talk about. I didn't know that there was a breakout session at the end. I can finish off my session early also, and then we can have those discussions in the breakout sessions also. So keep that thing in mind. You can stop me wherever you want, and we can have a discussion. Uh, okay, so let's begin. So as you see, I have crossed out this single messaging. Now, why have I crossed out this single messaging? When I gave this topic to Ruchi, she said, "Acha, is this related to XML?" So I realized that my communication was a little bit flawed. When I say single messaging, actually what comes to mind is XML. You write once and you can publish it everywhere. What I meant to say was unified messaging. I have not written that word over there. I have just crossed out single over there. Now, what is unified messaging? So, have a look at this slide first, and then we will start talking. Uh, Actually, this slide talks about how the messaging flows in an organization. For a product-based company, I'm not talking about a service-based company or a project-based company. So what happens typically is that this X factor of messaging is always an afterthought. They have developed the software, they have put the things in place, they've already got a few customers, and then they realize that they require technical right there because there are certain things they want a manual, they want this, they want that. And I have come across instances when someone has said that वो HR वाले थे ना वो भी लिख सकते हैं, right? So an HR guy can also make a manual. And I think about and this is not old. This thought is not old. About a month back when I was in a sales kickoff, someone said लिख तो कोई भी सकता है, right? So most of the time, what happens is this X factor is not taken seriously. It only happens when it starts hitting the revenue, when the customer starts asking, that people start thinking that, okay, we need to have the right kind of communication. And the communication starts like this. So first, we don't know. Most of the time, the organizations have got different silos. One is the development team, one is the QA team, one is that customer success team or the pre-sales team. Then there is the support. Everyone has got their own set of documentation. And then ultimately what goes to the customer is not very clear at times. So a typical or a kind of a systematic approach would be more on this lines, that you get all the requirements on board. Once you get all the requirements, then you decide who is the audience. Once you decide who is the audience, then you go to the how are you going to write a document. Now a document can be a guide, it can be a simple 2 lines on the GUI. On the GUI, if you put in 2 lines, it might suffice. You don't need a full document for it. And then it might you will actually write down the content, then you revise it, review it, and then you publish it. This is the kind of a thing. So the points that I want to bring over here to your mind is that actual messaging does not start with guides. It does not start with your documents. It actually starts from the GUI. You give the right kind of labels, you give the right kind of error messages, you ensure that the customer is not left high and dry. The user, not the customer, is not left high and dry. And then you will start achieving something. If you want to be that X factor, you have to have an holistic approach. And that holistic approach is unified messaging. And that same message that you started talking about on your GUI should end up in your marketing content also, whether it is the website, whether it is the white papers, blogs, or for that matter, even if you are going to answer some questions anywhere on other third-party sites about your product. So this is how the unified messaging flows. Now, the next is something like when I said the unified messaging, I'm going to show you how actually communication happens. I hope the audio comes out. Did the audio come?
No.
No, Chandrark.
Okay. Just a second.
So actually, when you are selecting to share the screen, there is an option.
Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
Can Puneet, someone of you share the screen? Because I'm not able, that button is not enabled for me, it seems.
Okay, just 1 second.
Yeah.
Ruchi, can you try?
Yes, I am sharing. Yes,
Okay.
I'm sharing. Yeah. Just a second. I don't know. It's just a second, huh? Yes. PowerPoint, it's not coming. Give me a second. Window. Okay. Yes. I'm there. Yes. Is that okay? Is it coming?
No,
Yeah, it's
I don't think the
coming,
audio is
but
coming.
audio is not coming.
Audio. Okay. Okay. Give me a
It's
second.
not played
Here
yet.
at no, at my place it's working, but I can't. Is it coming? No. Uh, Here it is playing in my computer.
Okay, let me give it a try. 1 minute,
Yeah,
please.
sure. Let me stop.
Otherwise, if that doesn't work, then we will have to go without it. Is it working?
I guess still
Yes,
not.
yes.
It started and
It
it stopped.
started
I
and it
think it's
stopped. I think
buffering.
it's buffering.
Yes, now we can hear
Yes.
this.
Yes, we can hear now.
Yes, we can hear it.
She's got guns. Get out while we can. Pass it on. Let's have some fun. Take out the dam. That's it out. Get out! Alex wants to take out the dam. All right. But it's his funeral. What? I'm back. That's my dinner. Golski, full throttle. Music. Oh, I like this song. It never gets old. Fantastic. Come about. Bring her along. Hold on to your skirt. It's Dan Busted time. No, no, move on. Don't kill us. There's got to be another way. Pass it on. It's still on the way. Are you sure? There is no sacrifice greater than someone else. No.
Chandrark, you want to take control or you want me to move with this?
No, you
No, no,
you can have it.
You can have
You
it.
can hold it.
You can hold it.
I'm fine.
Okay, sure.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So,
while the clip was playing, if you see those monkeys communicating with each other, that's how the actual communication happens. So a person who is facing the customers would have a very different view from a developer who is going to talk about the same thing. When you are looking at the messaging that passes through, it gets stretched, it gets modified, and there is always a level of storytelling that comes in. Right? As a technical writer, your main job is to try and defog everything that comes, filter out, and give only what the customer needs. Now, if anyone is saying that still there are people who are reading the manuals, the guides, there is a problem, because about 8-10 years back, we realized that the guides do not hold a person's attention, and an average attention span of a person is not more than, say, around 8 to 10 seconds. And with the current social media and everything, it has even gone down. So when a person comes to the actual help, or when he's looking for some kind of an communication, or when he's looking for some kind of a document, he is actually stuck somewhere, and he wants a targeted, simple, and clear communication. Otherwise, what is going to happen is that the person will pick up a phone or put a mail, and there is a support call. The moment there is a support call, the cost increases. So if you want to be that X factor, then what we need to do is we need to think on multiple lines. We should not just think about whether I am writing a guide or a how to, or maybe a release note or something like that. No, we cannot limit ourselves to it. And especially with this chat GPT and everything coming in, we will have to take that holistic point of view. And technical writers in the next coming phase will also have to graduate or to up their game and start thinking from a marketing perspective also. We need to think how, so right now TWT is running I think a white paper campaign. And ideally, we should be thinking of writing white papers that are more customer friendly. And I will be coming to all those parts in a slide after this. But so what I am trying to tell you over here is that a technical writer's role is not limited to just technical writer now. There are so many things that we have to take into account. We have to think about what is the kind of technology that we will be using, what is the kind of content delivery that we would be talking about, what are the other peripheral factors. So I'll be talking about this very briefly, and because I want to hear from all of you at the end of the session or after this slide. So when you talk about customers, so there are two kinds of customers. There's one is an internal customer and one is an external customer. And where does a technical writer stand? A technical writer would be standing somewhere just after the QA and where the customer facing teams begin. So the customer facing teams would be like the pre-sales or the customer success team, then the support, right? There might be even the marketing people and the sales people. So all these are your internal customers. So if you just think about the level of customers that you got inside your organization or inside your BU, business unit, there are ample amount of people over there. And then you talk about people who are outside your organization, and that would be the actual customer. Now, the actual customer is also divided into two parts. One is a person who is going to make the buying decision. He might not be actually using your product day in and day out. And then there is a person who is going to use your product day in and day out. So there is a person who is going to make a decision making of whether to buy this product or not. And then there is a person who is going to use your product day in and day out. Uh, when you talk about a person who is going to make a buying decision, he is the person who holds the purse string, and he might just have few moments or few minutes in which the person will have to talk about, or a person will have to get impressed about the product to buy it. So that is the kind of customer gamut that you have to be aware of. You should not just think about one user who is going to use your product. So you will be talking to all these people, and you have to learn to cater to all these people over there. And then each customer would have a separate set of demands. Now, a support guy would have a very different kind of a way, and a pre-sales guy would have a very different sort of a way of approaching the same task. And would you be comfortable clubbing them all in one document or in one deliverable, one artifact, or you want separate things? I am not giving you the exact artifact. I'm not saying that write an FAQ over here and do this over here. That you will have to decide. But then first thing is that you will have to be aware of all these gamuts over there. And now what I feel that what technical writing is going to be, it is not going to be just pure technical writing. The differentiation between marketing and technical writing is slowly merging. We will have to rise up to that occasion to write more in terms of marketing also, and also in terms of a customer language also. So we will have to up our game in that way. And then we need to have a style guide that is going to have a kind of a broad framework that you can follow. Whether you want to use the word select, you want to use the word click, what are you going to use? Then you will have to use it uniformly. At this stage also, I struggle at times. So that is not new. And one of the easiest things that you can follow is a Microsoft style guide. It is freely available. There are other style guides also. But that is how you can think about what kind of messaging, what kind of words are you going to use. And remember, there are these style guides not only talk about technical writing, that style guides have already been talking about how you are going to write your UX, what kind of a language, what kind of a language are you going to use in technical communication, what kind of a language you are going to use in the marketing communication. Everything is detailed out over there. So for any technical writer, these are some of the basic steps of having a style guide. You may or may not like to include infographics into it. Then there are multiple things, like you write a white paper, you write a podcast, you author a podcast, or you present a podcast. But in the marketing side, as you come, so now when you are talking from the technical side, the moment you transit into a marketing side, you will talk about the tech sheets, data sheets, you will talk about the website content, you will talk about FAQs, how to's, knowledge base. So a technical writer would have to think of all these terms when it comes to content types. Now, what comes in the technology side? The technology side, whatever you want to choose. I'm not saying that you go for an Markdown or you go for an XML or you choose Word, whatever you want to choose. But you have to think about whatever you choose, is it going to be scalable? Are you going, because you will be the person who would be handling it. So would you be able to scale it to another level? If and when there is a level of migration that happens, would you be able to handle this? So all these things you will have to think about. I think there was some time back, there was a question on the group asking about what should be used in terms of technology, how should we be writing. There was a detailed discussion that went on about it. So when you are writing, you have to think about these kind of technologies and how you are going to sustain it. Then beyond that, you will be talking about, once you have decided that, then you will have to find a way of delivering whatever you are saying. So are you going to just mail them a PDF? Most of the organizations have still got that. They send even they even send Word documents to the customers that this is the guide. Or there are times when they send a PDF document. Now, is this the right approach? I'm not saying it is a wrong approach or right approach. I'm just bringing it to the forefront. Do you want a platform on which you are going to host all this? Are you going to put in different levels of access mechanism? So a person who is from inside the organization might be having an access to all the documentation that is over there. A person who is outside the organization and is a partner or a distributor, how much of access are you going to allow to that person? And then what is the customer going to access? So have you got that kind of a system in place in which there are access rights and the way in which things can be delivered to people? Beyond that, when we come to the peripheral factors, you will have to think about uh, the translation part of it. Now, there are many people who might be having might be having products that are being sold in non-English territories. Even in the English territories, the American English and the British English are different. So would you put in a Z or a Z or a G, and how and where it is going to be used? And if you are going to go for localization or translation, then once again, it will start from your GUI. In the GUI, the kind of messaging you have done to the labels, on the field labels that you have given, it will start from over there. If you do not have it standardized, the cost of localization would be more than the actual cost of a technical writing or the documentation itself. So when you are faced with that, so that means that you also need to talk to the actually to the product management group or the people who are designing the product of what is their vision. So once again, going back to that first slide, the stakeholders, you will have to talk to them, find out what is the audience, and then think on those terms whether you want the GUI to be in the right shape. Then would be your own documents that you are writing, they would be localized, and then the other things, even the website and everything might be localized. Now, the first time localization is one thing. What happens when you localize, when there is a second cycle, when there is a different version coming? You will localize everything, then it is going to be prohibitively costly. Then you will have to find a way to take a diff, like what Git does. It would provide you with a diff, and you just get that diff in the delta localized, right? So once again, you will have to have that process in place. I'm not giving all those processes right now over here. That is because it's a very long discussion, and it is a very strategic and a focused discussion on each of these factors that we can have a separate section on it. I am right now just bringing things that are down over there up to a level so that we can discuss all these things as and when required. And the last is the investment. Why is investment a separate section over there? Because beyond a point, the people who run the company or who have the product are going to think on the money they are putting in into documentation. And then the question would be asked that what is the return over investment for this? Now, how would you calculate an ROI of a guide or of a knowledge base or something, anything like that? That is one thing that we all have to think, and for everyone there is a different formula, right? It will be dependent on the product itself. Now, while we are talking about all these things, you think about an iPhone. Have any of us ever referred to a user manual of a mobile phone? No. Most of the times we have no. There are times when we are stuck somewhere and we go online and we find out the question from some forum and anything like that. Otherwise, we don't need. Does a mobile phone need technical documentation? No. Partially no, because there are finite set of instructions, finite set of functions, so you don't need anything. But I still remember once, uh, I don't know who told me that thing. It was a very early stage, and the person told me one thing, that if my product needs documentation, it's a failure. And it hurt me that you are giving me such a kind of a thing. And but then later on, when I thought about that thing, it was really true that when a product requires documentation, inherently it is not user friendly. But that is not the right approach. The right approach is that a product or a solution has got so many multiple layers and so many different functions and options over there that it is not humanly possible to understand. So the technical writer's job is to simplify all these things. And in simplifying, did someone say something? Okay, so
Sorry, Chandrark, I was just saying we have actually just 5 minutes left on the total time.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So so we will continue this later on, and then I want to bring to the last slide, which is very Puneet, can you bring to the last slide? Yeah. So this is what primarily a technical writer should be doing. This is what I have seen across the board. First is clear, concise, simple messaging, a messaging that flows from the product to the outermost boundaries of marketing and sales. And remember, even making technical comparisons. I have got people who over here who are specialized in technical comparisons. I think some of the, if they are over there. So technical writers is not just about writing documents. They go on to make technical comparisons, which also impact directly the bottom line of the company. Better CX. Better CX is not just starting from the user, from the GUI, but to the last document. So our job is to provide a kind of a customer experience that can better the product. Our primary goal is to lessen the L1 level queries. You have to write in such a way that you lead a customer to the right kind of an conclusion and not make the person pick up a phone and make a support call. And the last and the most important thing is we have to, whatever we do, we have to help reduce the sales cycle. If we help reduce the sales cycle, we can show our ROI. Right? Now, all these things I have said, and I have purposely not talked about the storytelling part and about the marketing, bridging the marketing and the technical part, because I think Suyog and Ravi are going to talk about it. So I think they are going to add on whatever I have said, and they are going to take it to the next level. Right. So that's where I would like to end, and open to discussions if you have got time.
Thank you very much, Chandrark. It was a wonderful presentation. Yeah. Chandrark, I very much relate to it that awareness of technical writing in Gujarat is very less. People really very miscommunicate this communication field. People call us content writers, anything they call us. They even call us doing this content writing for thousand words and say that you have to do this every day. Like I have got this thing also when I was looking for a job. So it's really very misunderstood. This field is very much misunderstood in Gujarat. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any questions? Anybody?
And then there are times when we are paid per word, which is
Yeah.
very, very derogatory.